Representative Garcia. Representative. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, and that way you can be with the family, so I'll move it up.
Yeah, that'll work.
Thank you. Let's get the party started. I want to call to order the New Mexico State Transportation Commission of January 6, 2022 at 8:31. Let the record show that 4 commissioners are present and a quorum has been established. Can I have a roll call?
Commissioner Sandoval? Here. Commissioner Chamberlain?
Here.
Chairman Adams?
Here.
Commissioner Taylor?
Here. And before I go on, a quorum has been duly established. Let the record also reflect that Commissioner Lundstrom and Commissioner Alice are not here. We'll go on to the Pledge of Allegiance. You can have these. They've honored us today to come up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Go to the mic and introduce yourselves. Put that thing down, that microphone. If you break it, we'll get another one.
Hi, my name is Bentley King. Hi, my name is Fabian King.
Hi, my name's Geraldine King.
They are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. You want to do the other one too? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, that's okay. I'll say it.
Kea ashlatingo b'chahot zoi b'tanat ae shlnelingo b'nina b'chne adishne chala ajo batos hasin ye hadet Kea asa ande as andene ye aheta hotelzen eben nashik ajo ba b'zili b'da ahini tra. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I am now going to go on to the approval of the agenda. You've all had a chance to review the agenda. Is there any additions, deletions, or anything else? I make a motion.
Okay, I would like to, Chairman Adams, I would like to make a motion to move item 10C, the dedication of the John King Memorial Bridge, to number 8.
Yes. We have a motion from Commissioner Chenoweth to move 10C, the approval of proposed dedication of the John J. King Memorial Bridge to letter 8. Do
I
have a
second the motion.
I have a second from Commissioner Sandoval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously. And then we'll go on to the approval of the minutes. You've all had a chance to review the minutes for the meeting of September 15th, 2021. Is there any questions, comments, changes? If not, what is the pleasure of the commission? We have a motion.
I'll make that motion to
I have-
approve the minutes.
I have a motion from Commissioner Chenoweth. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
I have a second from Commissioner Sandoval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously. And this is one of the parts of the meeting that I don't really enjoy. But this commission has made it a habit that we want to recognize part of our family. And we lost an employee and had 2 employees injured. I don't know if you heard about it up in District 2 up in near Roswell. And I would like District Engineer, if you would want to say a couple of words, and then we can have a moment of silence. I want to remind everybody that when you're out there and you see our employees working out there, they're working for you. So please use caution, slow down, follow the signs, and we would appreciate it, because every day that they get out there on the roadway, they're risking their lives, and they're great. They're part of our family. Francisco?
Is the mic on? It's green. Okay. Yes, it was just a terrible loss for District 2 and our family there. You know, she worked her whole career at the Artesia Patrol, going on 22 years. The patrols, they're really close. You know, she had coworkers that were with her for 11 years, 17 years, 20 years, 21. Speaking with them earlier this week, you know, what they always say they miss is she was always smiling, coming in the morning, always made their day. Just recently, a longtime employee retired from Artesia. The guys were really happy and excited for this gentleman, had a big cookout, and she came in from the field, saw they were cooking, and she ran. She disappeared for a little bit. They were wondering what happened. She came back. She decorated all the tables, put the centerpieces, and made a real great send-off for this gentleman. And that was kind of the person she was. She really cared about her coworkers. She loved working for DOT, and she's going to be sadly missed at the district and throughout the state.
Thank you, Francisco. Yeah. If I can now have a moment of silence. Thank you, and our prayers go out to her family. With that, we're gonna head on to letter 4. I told everybody I'd have everybody out of here by 8:45, and we're getting there. But we're not there. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to our secretary, Mike Sandoval, so he can, if you walked in and you didn't sign in, we have a sign-up sheet, but when we call on you and you wanna come up, you're free to come up and speak, and we have no time limit, we have nothing, so turn it over to Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At all of our commission meetings, we like to recognize all the elected officials in the room and the good work that they do. So we try and have you sign in so we have an idea of who's here, but if I don't call somebody, I'll ask at the end if you want to stand up and introduce yourself and if you wanted to say anything. But I wanted to first recognize Timothy McHugh, who's a council person from Encino and Torrance County. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Mayor Harrington from Encino, Torrance County. Mayor, thank you for being here. We have Commissioner Hanson from Santa Fe. Thank you for being here, Commissioner. If you wanted to say something, go ahead.
Well, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much for giving me a few moments of your time. As I tell District 5 Engineer Paul Brasher, I love transportation and roads, so I'm happy to be here. But I also wanted to share with all of you that I have recently been elected president of the Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area, which encompasses District 5, of course, but Santa Fe, Rio Arriba, and Taos. And we are working with Senator Heinrich to designate this area. And so we will be bringing something forward with a sign that will be designating this national heritage area. And this came from Senator Heinrich, and this was his initiative. But I wanted to share that with you and let you know that this important heritage area in northern New Mexico that has been in existence since 2006, we are just trying to get the word out that we are really working to protect our history and culture in northern New Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you very much for attending, and thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have on here Barbara O'Keefe from Gallup in McKinley County. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Welcome.
everyone, and good morning, everyone in the audience. My name is Barbara O'Keefe. I'm the Legislative District Assistant to our Navajo Nation delegate, Edmund Yazzie, who could not join us this morning, but we are here in honor of the family of John King, the late John King, whose resolution is on the agenda. So good morning to everyone.
Good
Thank
morning,
you.
thank you for coming.
Thank you. I also have Representative Lujan from Santa Fe. Is Representative Lujan here? She had to step out, okay. I have Representative Harry Garcia, who's also the Vice Chairman of the Transportation Committee for the House. Thank you, Representative Garcia. And is Chairwoman Lundstrom here? I haven't seen her this morning, but I know she had planned to be here. And of course, the Chairman of our Senate Transportation Committee, Senator Shendo. Senators, I saw you earlier. Thank you for being here, Senator, if you want to say a few words.
Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary, members of the Commission. State Senator Benny Shendo. I'm from Jemez Pueblo. I represent District 26. Former representative, commissioner, good to see you. Just here to thank all of you for the work that you do. I know the last year and a half has been trying times for all of us, and we've lost a lot of folks in our respective communities, and I think it's we will continue to move forward and do what we need to do. I know that the roads and what this commission does is important, particularly for those of us that live in the rural areas, because we travel a long ways, whether it's for groceries or a little time, something to pick up. And these roads matter, and I just want to thank all of you that represent your respective areas of the state and continue to work. And I want to thank Mr. Secretary for keeping all of us involved and to ensure that we know what's going on so that we can support the work in our respective chambers. So just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the work you do, and you have a session coming up, so good luck with that too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is all that I had signed in. Is there anyone else that's an elected official that wants to be recognized? You can stand up and introduce yourself. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Christine Bustos. I am the County Commissioner from Rio Arriba County. I've been in office. I was appointed by the governor last February, so I'm coming up on a year. I just wanted to thank the DOT for all the work they're doing now in northern New Mexico, especially in my district in the Alcalde area. I know it's a hard do, and I'm very thankful for the work that's going on, and I know that in the next 5 years or so, there's going to be a lot of work going through our area. So again, Espanola, Rio Arriba County, we're the oldest in the area, in the state, and we're the heart of northern New Mexico, so everybody goes through Espanola. Not a lot of people stop, but they go through Espanola. And I do want to thank you for all your work, and I look forward to working with the DOT in the future. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. Congratulations on your appointment. I know you'll do great, and call on us if you need anything. We
I will. In fact, you guys, thank you again. Also, we just did our 25th Electric Light Parade, which brings in 20,000 people to the Espanola area for one night in December, and we get to use the roads, which is great. You guys make me fill out a lot of paperwork, but it gets done. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Bustos. Anyone else that is elected that wants to be recognized and introduce themselves?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
My name is Louise Bonagridi. I'm the mayor of Gallup, but I wanted to, I'm going to be one of the presenters, but we've got some individuals here that I'd like to introduce. We have, as a presenter, we're a partnership with the county, and I want to let you know that we have a partnership, and in the partnership is the chairman of our county commission, Mr. Billy Moore.
You can have him stand up.
And then we also have the county manager, Anthony Demas. And that basically, like I say, I'm a presenter, so I'll end it there and I'll make my presentation later.
Well,
Thank
thank you and welcome. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody else?
Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman Adams. It's really nice to see you in person finally. I am Candace O'Donnell, Taos County Commissioner.
We saw you on Zoom and you saw us on Zoom.
So I just want to welcome you to Santa Fe, and I do have some comments, but I will make those during the public comment.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thank you, and we appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Yes,
one more.
go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you
And
for
welcome.
allowing me to speak. My name is Craig Corey. I wanted to introduce myself. It's nice to be back in the transportation market. I'm the new Senior Director, Area Manager for WSP USA Engineering. I hail from Socorro, New Mexico, but have called Albuquerque home for the last 30 years. Again, excited to be back in the transportation market.
Well, welcome, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I know a lot of, is there another one? Go
I
ahead.
was going to introduce a few folks a little bit later,
Okay.
but if there's anyone else,
But before you go to that, a lot of you have heard this, so I'm gonna say it once. Now's your opportunity, or forever hold your peace.
I think that's it for elected officials, Mr. Chairman. So I think next is for you guys to introduce yourselves.
Okay. We'll start with Commissioner Sandoval.
Commissioner Jennifer Sandoval, District 1.
Good morning. I am Commissioner Chinawith from District 3. I'm very happy to be in Santa Fe this morning.
And I am Walter Adams, and I am the Commissioner for District 4. And I think at the last meeting we had in November, I was looking for a new team because my Raiders weren't doing good, but I'm back on board. So for those doubters, I believe again. I'm Tom Taylor. I'm the Commissioner for District 5 in Farmington, up there in the northwest corner. It's in the total state of the Nmfa. It's across the Utah, Colorado, and Arizona. Yes, but glad to be here today.
All right, Mr. Chairman, going on to some introductions from my staff. I'm going to go ahead and allow our FHWA administrator to introduce herself first. Cindy? No, whatever you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here, and appreciate being able to speak to you in a little bit. My name is Cindy Goodhue. I'm with the Federal Highway Administration. I'm the division administrator here. If I may also take a little bit of time and introduce my finance manager, Dolores Gallegos is here.
She's an ex-NMDOT employee.
Yes, she is. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. And in the interest of time, Mr. Chairman, we won't introduce everybody, but we have a lot of great staff here at DOT that's represented here today. At that table, we have our general counsel, our deputies, a lot of our executive directors, and of course, all of our district engineers. But I want to recognize a few people. First of all, our staff that's responsible for putting this together, all of our IT folks and communication folks that help put all this together. So I wanted to thank them personally for all their work. Everything always runs so smoothly here at commission meetings. And I wanted to recognize some of our partners that are here today. From APA New Mexico, Brian Jones. Thank you, Brian. From ACNM, Jim Garcia, and I know he has some introductions as well, so Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, Chairman. Appreciate it. My name is Jim Garcia. I'm the Executive Director of the Associated Contractors of New Mexico. Want to say, first of all, happy birthday to New Mexico. It was 110 years ago today that President Taft signed this charter for New Mexico to become part of the Union. I would also like to recognize that it was yesterday, 88 years ago, that our charter was signed about 200 yards away from here at the La Fonda Hotel for ACNM. So with that, I also want to recognize we have 90% of my board of directors and 2 of my past presidents that are in the room. If you don't mind, I'd like to have them stand up, please. Board members? Past presidents? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And I don't know if Bert Thomas is here. Bert from ACEC. I don't know if you wanted to say a few words. But it's really important, Mr. Chairman, that we have good relationships with all of our organizations and partners, and certainly they make our job easier, and we couldn't do it without them. So I'd like to recognize them whenever I get a chance. So go ahead, Bert.
Secretary, thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thank you. I also want to introduce some of our board members. I'll let them stand up. We have several people from the engineering community. So if our board members and our engineers that are in the room could stand up, please. Craig and Ross, any others? So again, we appreciate the partnership that you guys allow us to have with you and look forward to this year. Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you. And Brian, I know you didn't come up, but is there anybody you wanted to introduce or any words you wanted to say? Just I'm glad to be here, and actually several of my board members are here, but they're also with ACNM, so we got it all covered. All right. Thank you.
Well, with that, we go on to welcoming remarks. I just want to repeat something that the secretary said, is that we have a lot of staff that you see here in the room, and they come the day before and they set up. And we have employees all over this state that come to work each and every day, and they don't show up for work, they come to make a difference. And every organization is only as good as the people in the trenches. And I can tell you this, we're successful because of our employees. We just get to show up here and thank everybody and that, but without them, there won't be a commission and there won't be a DOT. So to the people all over the state, and I always tell the DEs to take it back to their employees, we appreciate them, and then we can give a round of applause to these people here that come. And I appreciate the applause for them, because believe me, they deserve it, because without them, we're nothing. So with that, I want to thank everybody that showed up today. I want to thank you for taking interest in showing up and participating. I want to let you know one thing. This commission, the secretary, the DOT, we work for you. We work for you. And we're going to do everything we can to make your lives better and safer. And we're going to make sure that those roads are as good as they can be. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to the secretary, and he can go to the public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for everyone's information, I have 2 people that wanted to speak through public comments. One is Commissioner O'Donnell, and the other one is Carolyn Murphy. So if there's anyone that wants to speak, if you don't mind just coming up here and signing this, and you'll be 3rd or 4th, depending on how many people come and sign up. But in the meantime, if I could call Commissioner O'Donnell back up for a public comment.
Good morning. Again, I hope you're enjoying your stay in Santa Fe, and it's so good to see you, Cabinet Secretary Sandoval. So I have 1 year left. hoping we can accomplish a few things. One is the security cameras at the Gorge Bridge. The governor gave us a $150,000 appropriation. We have yet to see the grant agreement. The other thing is the handicap walkway at the Gorge Bridge. I know you have designed it. We are anxiously waiting for that. So I do hope that you'll be able to come to Taos and have a meeting before I leave office.
Well, I thought you were redoing your signs and running again. I thought
Well, no, I cannot. I'm terming out, so.
Okay.
But we look forward to seeing you again in April, sometime when you dedicate the sign for our beloved State Senator Carlos Cisneros. So hopefully you will come up and we can see you again. I did want to just speak about the cameras at the bridge, and I have a statement from our county sheriff I'd like to read. And we have been working on making that area safer for the last 7 or 8 years. And Sheriff Jerry Hooker said, "This is an important endeavor. Will assist all Taos County's law enforcement agencies with investigations relating to suicide, homicide, and unknowns. Every public safety agency in northern New Mexico agrees with me the cameras are needed." The sheriff goes on to say that, case in point, in the last 5 years, we've had 3 open investigations that reasonably, we believe, found their fate from that horrible bridge. No remains have been found to date lending suspicion to homicide. If there were cameras recording activity on the bridge, we could have advanced these investigations by being able to see if indeed they jumped or were thrown over by someone, or they were never there, so we should look elsewhere. It takes tremendous resources to look, and often our efforts are fruitless. Cameras are a must and will aid in our investigations. The sheriff goes on to say that they would take responsibility for monitoring use of these cameras, since they're the primary agency that responds to suicide calls at the bridge. Thank you for letting me share this, and have a great meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner, and all I can say is that you've been very active. I can see as a commissioner, every meeting that we've had, when we were on Zoom, you were on it, and we appreciate your participation, and thank you for the work you do.
Well, thank you for letting me be part of the NMDOT family.
Thank you. Next on the list, I have Carolyn Murphy from Fort Wingate in McKinley.
Welcome.
Oh, yat Asian and I did an iso tanigi aro di kodoverton. Niso tanido kodon is your kagi a she Carolyn Murphy egin shiedots eyes getting slot since the carni eta she kia ani eta she chedo she eta she nulla. Welcome and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
My name is Carolyn Murphy, and I introduce myself to identify myself with my clans. Being a Navajo woman, you know, Navajo people, that's what we do. I'm here before you, standing before you, as a sister to my late brother, John I. King, okay? And in your line item is approval of the proposed dedication of his name with that Wingate Overpass Bridge, okay? And it's emotional time for us because it's almost a year. This time today, he was suffering, okay? And then we lost him. We're gonna lose him a year by next Tuesday, on the 11th of January. And in that time, we realized how he was so dedicated to his people, especially to the veterans people, and how we community members and the families got together to see how we could recognize him and have him be known within the state of New Mexico, that within our own community, with our Native people, to share the history about who he was as people drive by to see his name at the overpass. I live just about half a mile from that Wingate overpass. I drive over that overpass every day. All the family members, community members driving that overpass every day. So with that, you know, I'm asking for your support and for, you know, your understanding and the love from your heart is to support the naming him, you know, as John I. King Memorial Bridge. And the family members are here. His sons are here. Andre and his family, Jason, his daughter, and I have my siblings here with me. My brother Alvin King, my sister Beverly Arvizo, her husband Orville Arvizo, and then I have the council, Edmonds assistant, Barbara O'Keefe, and then the other one that supported us was their representative, Mr. Garcia, and any others, you know, that are here with us from the community. Is just to assure you that we're still mourning, you know, grieving over my brother, because it's been about a year. We lost two brothers right after the next. My youngest brother, Erwin King Jr., we lost him in December. It's going to be about a year and 2 days on the 8th. And then Mr. King, John I. King, is going to be a year by next Tuesday. So with that, you know, to share that with you is just something that will bring a closure to the overpass, you know, to know and understand the history of who he was, the history of our veterans, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our code talkers. We wouldn't be here if it was because for our language and our culture. So with that, you know, it extends, you know, what our country is all about, what our state is all about, the diverse within how many Native people live within New Mexico and the small community of Yumatope, how supportive they are. And with John dedicating, having a big heart, especially for the veterans. I didn't realize that until later on, when he came home from college and from his service, he dedicated more of his time among his people and among the United States. I just want to say thank you, Ahiaha.
Thank you. And on behalf of the commission, we are sorry for your loss and your losses, and thank you for coming today and sharing those words.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Chairman, I have Commissioner Hansen from Santa Fe. And that's the last person I have for public comment.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Once again, thank you. Thank you for being in Santa Fe County and our beautiful city of Santa Fe. I have, for the last 20 years, 30 years, maybe 40, been a watchdog on Lanel. And recently, it has come to the attention of Santa Fe County. Two of my other commissioners have also held public forums on this topic of the NMFA transportation of plutonium waste through the county of Santa Fe and Guadalupe, San Miguel, and that they are moving plutonium pits from Pantex to Lanel, turning it into plutonium oxide, which is the most dangerous form of plutonium, and then transporting it to South Carolina. That means that it is going down 599 to 285 in Santa Fe County. And it is very, very concerning to us. I have also presented to the legislature and the Radioactive Waste and Hazardous Committee, and they have written a letter to the governor. They are very concerned about this also. I have an entire PowerPoint presentation that I would be happy to share with you about the seriousness issue of this. I feel that NNSA is doing this without public consultation. They are just deciding this is what they are doing, and it is overreach, because once they take this plutonium to South Carolina, they are then bringing it back to WIP. So that is going through 12 states and a tremendous amount of risk, not only to human life, but to our communities and to our public. And this is very concerning to me. And I wanted to bring it to your attention so that you are aware of these situations. NNSA has redone the intersection at Jemez Road and Highway 4 in Santa Fe County. They seem to forget that that is in Santa Fe County. They consulted with Los Alamos County. They did not consult with us in Santa Fe County, which was very offensive to me. So there is a lot of things that the NNSA is doing that is not being public or taking the public interest. I am a commissioner. I am here to protect the public health and safety of my constituents. And this is extremely important to me. And so I want you to be aware of this situation. And I will have my constituent liaison send you the PowerPoint so that you can share it with all of your members, because I think it's something that affects not just Santa Fe County, but San Miguel County, Guadalupe, I think Highway I-40, whatever counties go through I-40 is affected also. And to be having plutonium being transported, and it's not, in some of the sections, it's not even being transported in true packs, which is something that we fought for many, many, many years to make sure that any radioactive waste was transported in true packs, which at least protects the public to some degree. This is going to be transported in semi-trucks, and we don't know what kind of protection is going to be in it. So I just want to share this information with you. I know that Secretary Sandoval, you are also concerned about public health and safety, and know that that is a deep concern for all of us. And so I thank you for allowing me to have a few moments of your time to share this important topic with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that information with us.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Is there anyone else? Okay, with that, we will go ahead and proceed. We'll go to number 7, the Gallup Mobility Investment District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'll introduce myself. My name is Louise Bonagridi, and I am the mayor of Gallup. The city of Gallup is excited to come before the State Transportation Commission to share our findings of a recent completed study, the Gallup Mobility Investment District, which is intended to bring research and testing of autonomous vehicles to Gallup and McKinley County, New Mexico, and with it opportunities of job creation. Before I get into the details of that, I mean, at the very end is always an ask, and I'm going to put the ask first. The ask is the Transportation Commission worked to establish a $20 million regional infrastructure accelerator modeled after the U.S. Department of Transportation program, because that'll invest in projects that advance autonomous vehicles, supply chain, and clean energy, and transportation projects in New Mexico that accelerate job creation and private investment. The city of Gallup is working with public and private partnership McKinley County, as I introduced our partners, basically the county of McKinley County, Mr. Billy Moore, who is the chairman, who is here to enforce, and also the county manager, Anthony Demas, is here to show that there is a true partnership and our desires are sincere in what we're asking. What the program basically, or the study basically showed, is that we're in need of a 7,000-foot roadway, urban research test track, an administrative building and warehouse, and then, of course, to service electric vehicles or hydrogen vehicles, diesel, or any other type of clean air type of transportation. We are appreciative of the fact that I think this is the second or third time that we actually came before you on this particular project. And again, we appreciate the fact that we did get a 4-lane U.S. Road, basically from 491 to Carbon Coal. That is the beginning of this whole project, and it's been successful, but of course we want to go further than that. We also are looking for partnerships with the Department of Transportation in the Department of the Transportation Aviation Division, because we also are in need of air passenger service into Gallup. We're going to need somewhere in the range of $6 million for our terminal building. And of course, the Allison Crossing is another one that we're thankful for the beginning of. Of course, we'd like to see Phase 2 and Phase 3 completed, because that would take, well, the west side of Gallup is somewhat short of economic development. We've got a lot of vacant buildings in that area. All the development seems to be going on the north side. The Ellison Crossing actually will connect the north side to the west side, and with hopes that we can get some type of economic development going on in there. And of course, traveling back and forth to Albuquerque and Santa Fe has not been a pleasure this past year at all. In fact, yesterday, there was a line of trucks basically extended probably for about 20 miles. We would really like to see a third lane go in for the trucks to eliminate some of the problems that we had. I don't know, you know, I've traveled across I-40 in a lot of different directions, and the traffic in New Mexico is probably 3 to 4 times higher than any other state, you know, I mean. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to, basically the overview is from me, but the mechanics is going to be this gentleman here, Mike Sage. Since our GLB partners could not be here, could not get in on Zoom, so Mr. Sage will give you the details on it. So with that being said, Mr. Mike Sage.
Thank you.
Chairman, Commissioners, NMDOT staff, before I start my presentation, I just wanted to recognize McKinley County Commission Chairman Billy Moore, and then give him the opportunity to perhaps say a few comments before I start.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, Mr. Sandoval, nice to see all of you again. As a present member or past member of the Commission, State Transportation Commission, I know that your workload is very heavy, and also I'd like to just, separate from this, I represent the community of Ayambato with our community members here, and I'm very supportive of their needs and their desires for naming of that. As Mr. Mayor, Mr. Bonagridi had indicated, we are partnering with them. We've already set apart road space, the 7,000 feet that's needed for the testing of the autonomous vehicles. Most of this is within the county. We're partnering with the city, though, and we think this is a well worth project. As you know, autonomous vehicles is coming up on us. It's going to happen, and we think it's very important that the state of New Mexico be part of this development of these programs. We know that they're testing now in Arizona and California and other parts of the nation, but we think right now we're in a position to bring this to western New Mexico. We've been talking with our private partners We have land available, we have road space available, dedicated just for this use, so we think it's very important that this move forward instead of sitting back and waiting for it to happen. Somebody else is gonna do it, it's gonna go somewhere else, another state or another area, so thank you for your time, and we appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
Chairman, Commissioners, also have with me J.M. DeYoung, Assistant City Manager for City of Gallup, and he's going to be the cleanup hitter for this presentation. Commissioners, staff, Chairman, recognizing that in September 2011, the Commission came to Gallup, and you all heard this presentation before, and so what we wanted to do was not necessarily get into to the weeds on it, but once again, just give you highlights of what we found and what we see as the opportunities related to autonomous for both Gallup, Northwest New Mexico, McKinley County, and the state of New Mexico. And so as Mayor Bonagridi mentioned, originally we had envisioned our partners, GLD partners based in Scottsdale, to be here to help us with this presentation. Unfortunately, that did not materialize, and so we are kind of doing their presentation, but we feel like we can do a good job of it, or as best as we can. So real quickly, when we came to you all in September 2021, we were working on the Gallup Mobility Investment District. It was a planning project that was funded through the U.S. Economic Development Administration, and primarily it was looking at repurposing our community assets. Gallup is known for a transportation town. We have rail, we have I-40, but what we've been doing over the past few years is really looking at our transportation assets. As Mayor mentioned, Allison, as Commissioner Chairman Moore indicated, Carbon Coal Road. And so over the past few years, we've been very strategic in developing infrastructure, local and regional infrastructure that ties to these national corridors, to rail, to interstate. And the next evolution in Gallup, for Gallup being from horse to wagon to train to gas, is now the next step. The evolution is to go to autonomous vehicles and renewable vehicles. And so when we looked at our proposal, what we wanted to do is we wanted to look and take advantage of Gallup's proximity in the U.S. And what we wanted to look at primarily was the whole supply chain issue currently going on right now. Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles, being able to move that cargo off the ships in the Port of Los Angeles, Port of L.A., and then move them eastward into the United States. And so with that backlog and with that congestion, we really saw an opportunity for Gallup, being on I-40, being on the BNSF Transcon line, being in close proximity to Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles, to really help in that evolution. And so when we started this project, it was really, it was initially intended to facilitate the research and testing of autonomous vehicles. The EDC, Gallup, McKinley County, for the past 2 years, we've been living, breathing, and working autonomous vehicles, starting with the New Mexico Mobility Strategy, a report that the DOT did, following that up last legislative session with House Bill 270 that allowed for the autonomous testing of autonomous vehicles on New Mexico roadways. We then followed that up with our EDA grant, and then from that EDA grant, we were able to produce this study. And so originally our focus was, what can we do to get research and testing of autonomous vehicles into Gallup? And as we worked through this process, this planning initiative, we begun to see a different opportunity, and that was really linked to supply chain. How can Gallup and the state of New Mexico work with California, work with Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles, to really be part of a solution to this national supply chain issue? And if we do that successfully, we feel very confident in the ability to generate private investment and job creation. So the Gallup Mobility Investment Plan, let me just go ahead and get everything up and running. There's 3 opportunities that were identified for the Gallup Mobility Investment Plan. The first piece was all about testing of autonomous vehicles. And so right now, we currently, because of House Bill 280, there is testing of autonomous vehicles within the state of New Mexico. I believe Torque, based in Albuquerque, is running from Albuquerque east into Amarillo, and there is some testing down on I-10. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to begin testing going west, right? Going from Albuquerque to Gallup and be able to identify that west I-40 corridor for testing and development. Once we start going west and we're able to go from Gallup to Albuquerque, there's an opportunity to continue going west. And as I mentioned, ultimately what we want to do, working with the state of New Mexico, working with DOT, is potentially partner with the state of California, Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles. So we're actually moving cargo from Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles into Gallup via autonomous trucking. The next piece that we wanted to do, and that's been identified, is the whole R&D, the research and testing of vehicles. Now, when we talk about autonomous vehicles, our sweet spot is really commercial vehicles. Gallup, because of the 7,000 trucks that go through Gallup every day, because of I-40, because of the NMDOT way station, Gallup is situated very nicely to support commercial research and testing of commercial trucks. So the second component is all about R&D related to commercial trucking. The last piece here is really tied into the Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles. As we're moving that cargo up and down 40 out of California into New Mexico, we're ultimately going to need some place to store it and put it, to be able to store that cargo, break it down, and then get it out. And so the third component is really what we call in the Gallup trade port, warehousing, logistics, distribution, that is wrapped around a foreign trade zone investment, foreign trade subzone, to be able to allow cargo from Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles come in, get broken down, sent out, and reduce those costs associated with imports. And so if we do that, if we do the corridor terminus hub, if we do the R&D testing, if we do the Gallup trade port with logistics and the foreign trade zone, we feel like we have a very good opportunity to be able to do job creation in terms of research and development, actually doing research and development here, product assembly. One of the things that our consultant has told us is that if you want manufacturing, you have to do R&D. They're not going to manufacture where they're not doing R&D. And so we see this by bringing a commercial vehicles, the research and testing of commercial vehicles into Gallup, into New Mexico, as that first leg to ultimately stand up some type of manufacturing capacity capability within the state of New Mexico related to autonomous vehicles. Ultimately, as this technology gets tested, there's going to be need to certify to make sure it's compliant with both state, federal, industry standards. We want to do that. On-site engineering, being able to bring in engineer teams from Silicon Valley, from Detroit, from autonomous hotspots, and be able to do research and testing here. As I mentioned, once we did research and testing, opens the way for manufacturing, opens the way for regional distribution. So we see autonomous as a spear that ultimately is going to be able to produce many economic benefits. And so, as I mentioned, the testing and development complex, it's really focused on next generation truck technologies, autonomous and clean powertrain. What our consultant has told us is that because in the grand scheme of things, Gallup is small, in the grand scheme of things, McKinley County is small, that there's synergies in the two entities coming together, and there's real strength in the two entities coming together, and that's what we want to demonstrate to you today, that is not just a city project, that it's not just a county project, but that it's a collaborative project across Northwest New Mexico that is intended to really transform the region, right? One of the things in terms of site requirements, right? If we're going to do this testing and truck complex, what kind of site requirements do we need to have? Obviously, it needs to be close to the interstate, easy on, easy off, needs to have relatively flat topography, access to utilities, and this last piece was for development of a 7,000-foot runway spread out over 100 acres, construction costs approximately $16 million. And that 7,000-foot runway was one of our big barriers. A lot of land in New Mexico, a lot of land, but able to put together that type of linear roadway parcel was very difficult in our area. And so what we did is, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, we just went ahead and utilized what was already there. And so with DOT, a few years ago, we were working with you all on Carbon Coal Road. Carbon Coal Road is a 5-mile road, connects our Gallup Energy Logistics Park to US Highway 491. We worked with DOT to secure approximately $30 million, and that road is currently being paved as we speak. It's going to be a 4-lane road, 8-foot wide shoulders, 55-mile-per-hour travel lane. It's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be beautiful. And so we have this road, and so what we're going to do, instead of trying to create that 7,000-foot runway on another piece of land, we're going to repurpose Carboncle Road. We're going to use Carboncle Road as a foundational piece to help this testing and development track. So with Carboncle Road, that is under construction. That is going to be complete in end of March, early April, so in a matter of 3 to 4 months. And so by repurposing Carboncle Road, we now have that 7,000-foot roadway taken care of. We have some other additional costs, the $60 million plus, and I can get into that later. The next part is all the truck mobility complex. As I mentioned, there's an opportunity to partner with California, Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles. Here's Interstate 40. You can't see it no more. But the Interstate 40 interchange there, ultimately what we want to do is we want to bring the trucks in off the 40. We want to have a charging fueling station where they can get diesel, electric, hydrogen. They can do cargo transfer. They can take that cargo coming out of Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles, move it into warehousing, and then from there send it out. So the second piece is this whole truck mobility complex. As I mentioned, the components include a technology center, cargo transfer handling, hydrogen fueling, electric charging, in partnerships with State of New Mexico, Port of Los Angeles, Port of Long Beach. The original first phase is really the fueling terminus. If we're going to have trucks running up and down 40 from Gallup to Albuquerque, from Gallup to Los Angeles, the first piece is really need to get them fuel. So we figure that the first phase would need to identify 10 acres where we can do a fueling terminus, and then from there the additional 90 acres would support that build out mentioned in the graphics there. Economic development targets. So as we looked, as I mentioned earlier, research and development leads to manufacturing. And so as we looked at what would potentially be available or would align with the skill sets of Gallup, McKinley County, and State of New Mexico, we feel like there's 3 areas that we could really move in right now. One is electrical vehicle battery manufacturing, advanced sensor and component assembly, and then also cybersecurity, R&D, and manufacturing logistics. So on that piece there, one of the things that our consultants has told us is that we really need to start looking at workforce and start looking at developing new programming. And so one of the things that we're looking at is really launching a mobility technician program in Gallup, McKinley County, potentially working with our Gallup, McKinley County school districts as a precursor for this. So not only are we looking at developing infrastructure, but we're also looking at creating that workforce pipeline and making sure those individuals have the skill sets needed to participate in this coming industry. Next steps, one of the things that we need to do is we need to finalize site control. We need to flush out our management operating responsibilities. Who's going to operate it? It's going to be the city, the county, the EDC, a consortium of the 3. Obviously, we're going to have to flesh that out, and then we're going to have to move a lot of these plans towards construction. We have a hard cost of $16 million, soft cost of approximately $2 million. These projects could be completed and open for business in relatively quick time, Q1 2013, so approximately a year from now, when we think that this is feasible. The truck mobility complex, like I mentioned, it's all around this national conversation regarding supply chain, infrastructure, clean energy. This opportunity to partner with Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles, we really see that as a P3 opportunity, right? And so ultimately what we would like to do is partner with the State of New Mexico DOT on looking at where we can put these charging, fueling terminus hubs, where we can begin to engage in conversations with Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles about creating that state-to-state partnership. More importantly, we want to continue to elevate I-40 as a corridor that is supportive of autonomous testing, and then also convey that message out to the public. So looking at designating I-40 as a truck testing corridor. And then lastly, the mayor talked about it, pursuing federal funds. There's a US DOT accelerator designation that's out there. What we want to do is we want to piggyback off that, see if we can create our own funding structure here in the state of New Mexico that will allow us to align with that. And then lastly, once we get all that, we would then engage our public and private partners for project build out. And so that's what I got here right quick. And as I mentioned, we have about $20 million is what we anticipate for this facility. We anticipate $5 million for urban suburban test track, approximately $2 million for administrative shops and buildings, and approximately $5 million for diesel fueling and electric charging stations. And so one of the things that we're doing is the city has, and the EDC has applied for a grant. So we have U.S. Economic Development Administration money. And so now that we have the need for a test track, we have a need for charging stations, we're going to use our grant money to do preliminary engineering reports, to do preliminary site plans on these. So we want to start moving these projects towards construction ready. And so really we're coming to the DOT, to the State Transportation Commission, recognizing that in very near time, we're going to have some shovel-ready projects that have the opportunity to spark job creation tied around transportation. And so as the mayor mentioned, you know, we're really want to talk to the commission about the possibility of working with the New Mexico legislature on setting up a $20 million rural infrastructure accelerator grant fund that basically can be used to invest in catalytic projects like autonomous, right, that advance clean energy, that advance logistics, that will allow Gallup, McKinley County, and the state of New Mexico to become a leader in autonomous, to become a leader in logistics, and to be, you know, a model for job creation. And so with that, I just want to thank you all, and I do have City Manager JM here to kind of make final comments.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you, Cabinet Secretary Sandoval, Commission, staff. Thanks for having us. Not much more to say beyond that. We're excited about the future and the opportunities that could come to Gallup. You can see we partner very well with our county and with the state on projects that we have done. And we look forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you all for being here, and I think we will share lunch from what we talked about today. And the one thing we always say is it's a good thing to be ahead of the game instead of playing catch up. So thank you for your efforts. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to make one more comment. I believe the comment was that there's about 7,000 trucks a day. I believe that's probably between 20 to 30,000 a day on I-40. So, you know, it's a tremendous amount. And you see the traffic backed up and everything. It's probably 75% of them are trucks. And it's, we're just having to deal with this all the time. And I know that's a challenge for you also. So thank you.
I just bought a vehicle that's autonomous, but there's no chip. But thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I am going to go to number 10, letter C, the approval of the proposed dedication of the John I. King Memorial Bridge. Lisa?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman, members of Commission, I'm here to discuss the proposed dedication of the bridge located on New Mexico 400 over Interstate 40 in McKinley County, bridge number 6367, as the John I. King Memorial Bridge, and respectfully request Commission approval and adoption of the State Transportation Commission Resolution number 2022-02. And if you would indulge me, I'd like to request Mr. King's son, Andre, to come up here and read the resolution.
Of course.
Good morning, Chairman,
Adams and members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to be here. It's a pleasure to see you all once again. Happy New Year. State of New Mexico State Transportation Commission Resolution Number 2022-02, dedicating the bridge located on New Mexico 400 over Interstate 40 at milepost 33.6 in McKinley County, bridge number 6367, as the John I. King Memorial Bridge. Whereas, to honor and recognize John I. King's dedicated public service, active and involved local leadership, and unwavering advocacy for veterans, the Untitled Navajo Veterans Organization, supported by the Untitled Chapter of the Navajo Nation and Eastern Navajo Agency Veterans Organization, initiated a request to name the bridge located on New Mexico 400 over Interstate 40 at milepost 33.6 in McKinley County, bridge number 6367, as the John I. King Memorial Bridge. And whereas the Honorable Harry Garcia, New Mexico State Representative, District 69, and the Honorable Edmund Yazzie, Delegate 24th Navajo Nation Council, previously appeared before the New Mexico State Transportation Commission on behalf of Yambato Veteran Organization, the Yambato Chapter of the Navajo Nation, and the Eastern Navajo Agency Veterans Organization, to affirm their support for dedicating bridge number 6367 in honor of John I. King. And whereas John I. King was a native New Mexican of Navajo descent, born July 11th, 1953, in Gallup, New Mexico, into Tsaiskidney Sagebrush Hill Clan and Tsinsikadni Clamp Tree Clan. And whereas John I. King graduated from Gallup High School in 1972 and after graduation enlisted in the United States Navy, earning the rank of EA3. He served with the Construction Battalion, better known as the Navy Seabees. He was honorably discharged in 1975 and in recognition of his service, received a National Defense Service Medal. After his military service, John I. King attended the University of New Mexico, where he earned an Associate of Science degree in pre-engineering in 1979, a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering in 1981, and a Master of Business Administration degree in 1997. And whereas John I. King was employed for over 35 years with the United States government and served as a civil engineer with the United States Department of Interior, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and held other positions, including supervisory civil engineer and supervisory general engineer with other agencies, including Navajo Region Facilities Management, Southern Pueblos Agencies, and Facilities Management and Construction Center for more than 25 years. In 2009, he began serving as a quality assurance professional with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, and later as a director of HQ operations. And whereas John I. King also selflessly devoted a significant amount of his time and effort to community service and volunteer work for the Navajo Nation, including serving in community liaison and community veterans commander positions. And whereas John I. King was a steadfast advocate for veterans within the Yamato Navajo chapter and advocated for all Navajo Nation veterans, particularly the homeless. In 2019, he was appointed as the executive director of the Navajo Nation Veterans Administration and worked with the Navajo Nation Office of the President and Vice President and the Navajo Nation Council to safeguard the integrity and honor of Navajo veterans in accordance with the Navajo Nation Veterans Act. And whereas, in addition to his other accomplishments, John I. King was a gifted and distinguished artist, expert in traditional Navajo watercolor style painting. His artwork was shown in several important Native American art shows and markets, earned many awards and honors, and was included in an historical arts and cultural exchange tour in China during the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And whereas John I. King passed away on January 11th, 2021. And whereas John I. King will long be remembered by citizens of McKinley County and the state of New Mexico for his dedicated public service, local leadership, unwavering advocacy for veterans, and distinguished service as Executive Director of the Navajo Nation Veterans Administration. And whereas the New Mexico State Transportation Commission wishes to create a permanent reminder to honor John I. King and recognize him for the contributions that he made while serving the people of McKinley County and the state of New Mexico. And now, therefore, it is resolved that the New Mexico State Transportation Commission approves the dedication of the bridge located on New Mexico 400 over Interstate 40 at milepost 33.6 in McKinley County, bridge number 6367, and it shall hereafter be known as the John I. King Memorial Bridge. And be it further resolved that the New Mexico State Transportation Commission hereby directs the New Mexico Department of Transportation to manufacture and install, in accordance with the current edition of the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the appropriate signage for the John I. King Memorial Bridge, and thereafter maintain such signage. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to John I. King's family. Adopted by the State Transportation Commission in open meeting on January 6th, 2022. Today being January 6th, taking us back a year ago, on January 6th of last year, which was a Wednesday, that was the last day that my brother Jason and I, Jason, please come up with me. This is my brother Jason. By the grace of God, we had the opportunity to go into the hospital to see my father. And we had the opportunity to speak our last words with him. Though he could not speak because he had apparatus on his face, we were able to speak the words of love that we had for him. And particularly, I want to give glory to God for this, that on that day, January 6th, Wednesday of last year, though my dad couldn't speak, as he held my hand, he, by faith, gave me a thumbs up for accepting Jesus Christ as his Savior. That was a special day for my brother and I. That was the last day that we got to see him. He passed away on January 11th. Chairman Adams and Commissioners, I deeply thank you for allowing me to present this resolution before you and for allowing me to speak today. It's been a pleasure, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And we want to, again, extend our condolences to you and your family, and we want to thank your father for his service to this country. Did you?
Just wanted to say, Commissioner Adams and members of Commission, thank you again. This was an honor today to present this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I know Representative Garcia wanted to say some words.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. My name is Harry Garcia. I'm a state representative for House District 69, which covers parts of San Juan, McKinley, Bernalillo, Valencia, and Socorro counties. the King family approached me months back and asked me if I would help them get this bridge dedicated in the honor of their father. And I told them it would be an honor. As you all know, I'm a United States Marine Corps Vietnam veteran. And I have done a few bridges around the state, and it is an honor to do these bridges for these people. And the reason I'm here today is to encourage you people to pass this resolution so we can get this bridge done in the honor of this family. Number one, it's just like the highway department. The highway department is the backbone of our state. Military veterans is the backbone of our country. And we cannot let these things go away. That we need to keep it up and make sure people are recognized, because these are part of the history of our state. And you know, thank you for the opportunity to be up here. The King family, it's an honor serving you. It really is an honor. And I hope you guys make a decision today to move forward with this project. And like once again, thank you, all the people from the highway department. Thank you for all the hard work you do for our state, because you are the backbone, and the veterans are a backbone of our country. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to your family, and it's really my honor to be the secretary as we dedicate this bridge in honor of Mr. King. I appreciate the resolution and everything that was in there, and the good, really introduction to us as to who he was, and all of that information was very impressive and very well done. So thank you for that. You know, this is a very important thing, Mr. Chairman. It's really memorializing Mr. King's life and forever, because these things don't ever come down. And so we appreciate you and your family being here today. Our condolences, and look forward to when the vote is up to get this done. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that, Secretary Sandoval. And if I may, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple of items that depict his artwork, namely a calendar and some blank gift cards. I would like to be able to present that to you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the commission, if that would be permissible at this time.
We would be honored. And just in time, we got the bells, you hear them? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Kirsten, too.
Before we go to a vote, I just want to let everyone know that when these requests come before the commission, we review them very thoroughly, and we take them very, very seriously. As the secretary said, it's going to be there forever. And so it's taken a while. We were up in Gallup, and Representative Garcia brought it a while. It's been a while, but there's a process that it has to follow. But the day is here, and the process is before us. So with that, before I go to a vote, I would like my fellow commissioners to see if they have any comments.
No, just thank you so much.
Commissioner Taylor. So with that, let me get situated here. Do I have a motion to dedicate the bridge located on New Mexico 400 over Interstate 40 at milepost 33.6 in McKinley County, bridge number 6367, and that it shall hereafter be known as the John I. King Memorial Bridge. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the proposed dedication of the John I. King Memorial Bridge.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sandoval. Do I have a second?
Chairman Adams, I will second that motion.
We have a second from Commissioner Chenoweth. I want to do a roll call vote on this.
Commissioner Sandoval?
Aye.
Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yes.
Chairman Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
So with that, it carries unanimously, and it will now be called the John I. King Bridge.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And Secretary Sandoval or some of his staff will be getting together with you at a later date, so when we get everything ready to get up there, and it's with honor that we do it.
Once again, with all of my heart's gratitude, thank you all, Chairman and Commissioners. Happy New Year. God bless you all.
Thank you. And thank everyone that spoke on behalf of it. And with that, I'm going, but the other thing with that is that now you can't leave the meeting. With that, you can't leave the meeting. That we moved you up on the agenda, so you gotta, I'm just kidding.
It's all right. I like hanging out with you.
You know what? Can we do some pictures of the family?
Yes, please.
Well,
Yes.
let's take a 5-minute break, but we're gonna reconvene right at 5 p.m.
Commissioner Gray, thank you. You want to take a picture real quick?
Yeah, so it looks like they're running.
Yeah. You're next, and then the FHAW, and then we'll go quick on the other stuff. We're gonna continue with our meeting at approximately 9:59. And with that, I'm going to go back to number 8 on the agenda, and that's the staff briefings. Secretary Sandoval.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a couple things I want to update the commission on. First of all, we had a meeting this week regarding bonding, and we have a couple of our 2012 bonds that are up for call. And so much like we did a couple years ago, we're going to look into refinancing those bonds. We're following that process now. We think their bonds are worth about $50 million, and we think we're going to be able to save anywhere from $4 to $5 million. So we'll get that refunded back in cash. The process has started. This is kind of a little bit of a briefing, but you'll be receiving materials over the next couple months as we move through the process. In the March meeting is when we'd like to get a vote on this. So you'll be briefed prior to that. The reason for that is we have the Nmfa board meeting in March. Our meeting starts at 8:30. Their meeting starts at 11. So what we'd like to do is, if you're willing to vote on that in our meeting, once it gets approved in our meeting, they'll actually take it up that same day, so that we can get to a closing pretty quickly, maybe sometime in April or May, to take advantage of some of the interest rates. If you've been following, you probably heard that interest rates may go up. The feds may do that, and so we want to try and get that done as quickly as possible. But it's basically what we did a couple years ago. We saved $7.5 million a couple years ago with bonds that were due for their call, and we're going to do that same thing. So as these bonds come up, if the interest rates are good, we try and do that to save the department some money. I would just want to, this session, commission meeting is usually dedicated to the legislative session and any questions you may have. As you know, that starts the day after Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, so about a week from Tuesday. Wanted to tell you what we have going on in the session, as well as just update you on the special session that just happened a few weeks ago. Our one main priority for this next session, as far as bills are concerned, is to pass our CMGC bill. So that's a bill that has, we've tried the last 2 years. Both times it hasn't made it past Senate Judiciary Committee, but it's made it all the way through the House and all the way through other committees on the Senate side. We think we have everything worked out with the committee, and we're hopeful and optimistic that it'll pass this year. So we appreciate all the support that we've been receiving from our consultants and some other folks that have been helping us, as well as our own staff. But that is really our top priority, and that's to be able to utilize a different tool in our toolbox when we're putting projects out for bid and delivery. As far as money is concerned, Mr. Chairman, this last special session, we received $172.5 million of ARPA money, and that's the recovery money that was appropriated to the state by Congress. $142.5 million of that was for roads. We received $10 million for electric vehicle charging stations, $10 million for airports, and $10 million for a litter program to try and get under control some of the litter issues that we're having across the state, particularly on interstates, U.S. roads, and New Mexico highways. So we're putting plans together for all of those things on how that money will be spent, and we are putting plans together for how that $142 million for roads will be spent. We are also expecting maybe up to another $200 million during this regular legislative session for roads, rest areas, and some other things. What I'm going to tell you, Mr. Chairman, is you know we have our own STIP program that we keep moving forward with every year. With this new money and the new money that we're receiving at the national level through the IIJA passing of the transportation bill, I'm just going to go over the roads that we think we're going to be focusing on moving forward, in addition to our regular STIP program. And I'll just go over these real quick by district. So in District 1, of course, the US 180 road, we're already in design. We're already looking at a phase to get started, hopefully in the next, all of these, hopefully to get started in the next 12 months to 24 months, the next 1 to 2 years. And that total project amount right now is in a run somewhere around 150 million. So that's one area in District 1. Also a new, what we're calling the St. Francis extension by the border area. That's also started under design. That's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 million. And we're also redoing the Nogal Canyon Bridge. And we want to make that a signature bridge in that particular area. We do have some funding right now for that bridge, but we're looking for additional funding so that we can make that a signature bridge down south. In District 2, our priorities really haven't changed since 3 years ago. We're making progress, but our priorities are really New Mexico 31, New Mexico 128, and US 380. And so those will be the priorities. The New Mexico 31, 128, we're looking for about $60 million for that project. New Mexico 128, it's about $150 million total to 4-lane that entire highway. And then we're looking at costs for US 380, but it's probably going to be somewhere in over about $100 million. In District 3, we're looking at hopefully being able to get this project out by the end of the federal fiscal year or early next federal fiscal year, and that's the Montgomery Comanche interchange. Just to give you an idea of some of the rising costs that we're seeing for some materials and other things. When we first looked at that a few years ago, we were thinking the cost was going to be somewhere around 80 to 100 million. We're looking right now that it's probably going to be at least $170 million project. And so we're in the final stages of putting that together, and hopefully we can obligate some money this year and the rest maybe next year. Of course, we have almost signed an agreement for Mesa del Sol Bobby Foster to do a A-B study and hopefully start design. That's in southern Albuquerque, between Isleta and the airport, basically. So that'll be a priority, as well as Paseo del Volcan, and the focus will really be on the interchange there with the Trisco and how that can work with the airport and a lot of the development that's already there, like the Tempur-Pedic warehouse and Amazon warehouse are all there, and how to make that work better than it's working right now. Another project that's coming up in that area, but will kind of be secondary to this, is Gibson Interchange. Will be the next interchange after Montgomery Comanche within the city limits of Albuquerque. Going on to District 4, we're looking at completing New Mexico 39. That's going to be another probably 30 to 40 million. That's a project that we already started, but we're looking at getting money to go ahead and finish that, which is a 25-mile stretch in District 4. In District 5, we're looking at the New Mexico 4 bypass for Jemez. We've already designed that. Right now we have a lot of the traffic that goes right through the Pueblo, and we really need a bypass there, especially during the pandemic. That caused a lot of issues for the locals that live there. We have Pinon Hills project in Farmington, which is another river crossing in that area. We're talking to consultants now. They had about a 90% design already done, but they're going back and looking. We still have to work with Game and Fish. We're hoping that project will be ready to let in 6 to 9 months. And that project is upwards of about $40 million. And then also in District 5, Cerrillos Road, which is basically from St. Michael's Drive up to St. Francis Drive, would be impacted, the area we're trying to impact. So we're looking for $15 million for that. We already have some money put aside, and we're looking for an additional $15 million. And the big one, Mr. Chairman, that I know the people from McKinley County mentioned, and that's 6-laning I-40 from Albuquerque to the Arizona state line. That's going to be somewhere between 1.7 and $2 billion with a B. We've already have put aside about $50 million, and we have plans to basically 6-lane a stretch of I-40. So what we're really looking at doing for that and for all these projects is, as we get whether new money from the legislature, new money from the bill that Congress passed, transportation bill, and any new discretionary funding or grant applications that we're going for, These right now will be the priorities. I will say this is a fluid list, so if there's something that you think is a priority that's not on this list, please let me know so that we can talk about it. We're basing this on a few things. First, pavement conditions. Second, economic development, and how building these roads can improve the economy. And then the third thing is really readiness. How soon can these projects be ready? Because all of the money that we're receiving has timeframes on it. And a lot of it has to be spent by either 2024, 2025, or 2026, whether it's the recovery money or legislative appropriations. And so we think these projects, and some of these will probably be broken into phases, are the most ready, are in need of pavement repair or reconstruction, or of most benefit to the communities that are impacted for improving opportunities for economic development. So I just wanted to kind of run those off. I can get you a spreadsheet that has everything on there with costs, with where we think we have funded so far, with where the shortfalls are, and all the different colors of money that we're using towards these projects. But this is really what our focus is going to be, above and beyond our normal STIP projects. So wanted to kind of just brief you on that, because this is something new that we're putting together, and something that we plan to share with the legislators as we move through the process now in the next couple of weeks. So one of the things, Mr. Chairman, as you can see, we've received quite a bit of money over the last 3 years, and even 142 million or 172 million in the last couple weeks. And in order for us to get this out the door and to spend it, we really have to look at all of our processes and try and make sure that they're as streamlined as possible, that they're as efficient as possible. So I'm just letting you know that using this room, we saw it as an opportunity. We have a meeting at 1:30. You saw ACNM Executive Director Jim Garcia here and a lot of his board here. We're meeting with them at 1:30 to look at operationally out in the field, how are things going? What are some of the things that maybe we can do better on both ends to help move this money along, stop any delays, stop anything that's going to prolong projects, cause congestion, those type of things. And so we've really, I think, done a good job from the top down as far as getting things ready for bid, and our bid letting schedule and all of those things have been pretty solid and consistent. And now we're taking that next step to, once the project started or once a project is about to start, what are the things that we can do to make sure that things keep moving forward with little or no delays. So we're looking forward to that meeting this afternoon to kind of take that next step. So, Mr. Chairman, those are really the top things I wanted to mention. As always, if there's anything you want me to report on during a commission meeting, please let me know, and I'll come prepared to do that. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just a quick question. That's the big picture that we're looking at right now. And last year, we were fortunate to get that money for the 161 million for the local government road fund. And I keep getting asked by all the entities, because that really helped them out. What is that looking like this year?
Mr. Chairman, we have met with LFC, and the governor's budget came out yesterday. I think a press release went out this morning. LFC's budget will probably come out today or tomorrow. What I've seen and what they've shared with us is we already have 40 million a year for locals, based on the revenue, based on House Bill 6 a couple years ago. They are planning to add another 80 million this year of general fund money. Of course, this is all subject to going through the process. So if that were to happen, this year would be 120 million. As you mentioned, last year was 160. A little bit smaller, but still a lot of money out there. And so that's what we are thinking is going to happen, is it's going to be somewhere around 120 million for the locals.
And for everybody just to understand, back in the day, even when I was out there working, the whole thing came out to each district getting between $5 and $7 million. It was a total of maybe 40.
Yeah, the way we would do it, Mr. Chairman, if we did get the 120, is it'd be about 20 million a district, give or take a little bit.
Which is great, which is great.
And that's in addition to what they're already getting through the local government road fund.
Okay, I have no more questions.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And with that, we're gonna go to our great partner from FHWA. So come on in, Cindy, and make yourself at home.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners and the Chairman. Everyone, thank you. Happy New Year, and thank you for having us and hosting us here. We talked a little bit in Gallup. I talked about what the new law would possibly bring to New Mexico. Sure. Do you mind if I take off my mask?
No, go ahead.
Thank you.
There you
All right, thank you, there we go. So in Gallup, I talked about what the new legislation could potentially bring for New Mexico. And on November 15th, the president signed the bipartisan infrastructure law. So now that we have an actual law, we actually have more figures and what the law will actually bring. Just to give some context with what this new proposal brings, Secretary talked about some of the priorities as well as some of the funding that's provided. So with the FAST Act, the previous legislation brought about, I think it was like $389 million over the 5 years. The new bill brings about over $500 million for New Mexico over those 5 years. So that's about a 30% increase. So a lot of money. So with your priorities, Secretary, we know that with the additional state funds matching the federal funds, you'll be able to leverage that and do what we need to do for the citizens of New Mexico. So definitely want to highlight that. And thank you for sharing your priority projects. So that'll also help us make those a priority as well. So thank you for that. So where are we now? So in November, the president signed the bill, and now we're in implementation. In December, we were able, if I could ask Dolores, if you don't mind coming up, Dolores, and maybe talk a little bit about it. She talked about the money, and that's where we're at right now. So in December, Dolores, what was the amount of funding that we were able to bring in this continuing resolution?
120 million has been allocated to New Mexico, and as she said, it's just until February 18th.
Yep. So what that means is the traditional projects or the legacy programs that we've had, those we're able to actually fund in piecemeal until Congress gives us an actual appropriation, right? So we said, well, we have the law, where's the money? And so because we don't have that appropriation right now from Congress, we don't have the full $500 million available. So what we have right now is, to supplement that, we have what's called a continuing resolution. So little by little, Congress gives us money, and right now we're able to fund the traditional programs that we're all used to. But with those traditional programs, the bill, bipartisan infrastructure law, what that also brings is 12 new programs. So with those 12 new programs, now we have to actually develop the policy and the requirements, the eligibility for those programs. So those are going to take a little bit longer than our legacy programs. So, and with that comes all the rulemaking, and you'll have an opportunity to comment on what those eligibilities will be. So that'll come in the next few months. So, okay, great.
Well,
and that's all I have as far as
thank you,
updates.
And again, and I sincerely say this, we enjoy a partnership with you guys, and we look forward to some great projects and great success. So
Yeah.
Thank you for everything.
Absolutely. So very exciting time. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, and it'll be a great benefit to everybody. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thank you,
Dolores.
Cindy, appreciate it. Thanks, Dolores.
And with that, I'm gonna go now to finance reports number 9, FY21 external audit summary.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Commissioners. Before you guys hear the results from our APW, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and acknowledge some of the accounting service staff with me. So if you would, please stand up? These individuals here are each a manager within a section of the Accounting Services Department. They have been with the department for over 5 years. They've showed their loyalty, dedication, and they're very knowledgeable. They're a very true representation of a good employee for the department, and I'm very, very proud of them. So with that, I would like them to introduce themselves.
Yes.
And their title. I'll start with the leader of the pack, Kristen.
Kristen Dorland, Chief Financial Officer and Accounting Services Director.
Antonio Benitez, GL Supervisor at Accounting Services.
Becky Valencia, Accounting Services Staff Manager.
Vicky Ortiz, Finance Supervisor.
Andrew Diego, Capital Assets and Inventory Supervisor.
We also have the presence of, we do seek the guidance from Romero and Weiner Company. Jeremy Romero, the CPA, is unfortunately not able to be here with us, but he did send what I consider his better half, Alan Wall. And we do, like I say, we seek their guidance in ensuring that we're following all the accepted principles. Sorry. We're ensuring that we're following all the accounting principles. So thank you, Alan. Please extend our appreciation. And again, thank you to Accounting Services.
I just want to say something real briefly, and I know this firsthand because I know all of you, is that there's not a harder working bunch of individuals as you. And we appreciate, this commission appreciates all your hard work. And we'll be getting the result from the audit, and I'm saying that even before we get the results. So that's how much confidence we have in you. So no, thank you on a serious note for all your work, and I know you're always busy, so thank you. And so next, Stephen Montoya, who is a primary CPA, will not be here to join us, but he did send Ernesto Ramirez and Jesus.
Close, Jesse.
Oh, Jesse, sorry. Jesse Hidon, I was getting them confused, here to do the presentation. They've been our partners for the past 3 years. Unfortunately, their contract has come to an end, so we will be advertising for a new. They will have the ability to reapply and be selected and so forth, but in the past 3 years, we've had successful audits, some better than others. However, I'm sure that you guys will be pleasantly surprised with the results, and I thank them for our partnership and our communication and the relationship that we've had for the past 3 years. Thank you. And Mallory, thank you for your leadership too. You do a great job.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the time. Appreciate the, adding us to the agenda and able for us to communicate what's required us to by our auditing standards. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members of the commission, we appreciate your time.
Welcome.
So, I'm Jesse Hidon. I'm a senior manager with REW, a regional size firm based and headquartered out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. With me, I have Ernesto Ramirez. He's a manager on the engagement. Together, we form a big piece of your audit team. Obviously, Stephen Montoya wasn't able to be here today, so he sends his hellos. A little bit of thunder taken from me there, but yes, we're here to present the audit summary presentation. How do I go next?
To the results.
That's what I'm talking about. There we go. Sorry. Get technology worked out here. So, purpose, why we're here, to present the audit reports to the governing authority of DOT in accordance with the Open Meeting Act. We were engaged in May of 2021 for a 3-year contract. This is the 3rd year of that contract. We ultimately began working immediately. You are a very large organization. I didn't even here to tell you guys that. All these presentations kind of allude to that. Ultimately, we issued our financial statements dated November 8th, 2021. It's our 3rd year of our engagement. What goes into an audit of the financial statements and your federal compliance audit is 1,600 man-hours, which is incredible because you guys have a large set of financial statements, billions in funding. It takes time to get through those financial statements. Along with that goes 600 documents that we need to review in excess of that. So that's what was uploaded and provided to us. Seems crazy, but we have to meet those minimum requirements. So why an audit? Well, we're governed by standards. As your external auditor, we report to the commission. We do report to you guys. We don't report to management. You guys are the ones that engage with us to make sure your financial statements are presented in accordance with standards. Those standards being generally accepted auditing standards, that tells us what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Government auditing standards is our second kind of governing body that has guidance over us. The uniform guidance relates to your federal awards specifically, so not your appropriations from the state, but more or less your federal funding that comes from the various funding sources. And lastly, the New Mexico State Audit Rule governs things like deposits, pledged securities. They kind of oversee everything that kind of falls through the cracks of those 3 above. Each one of those requires its own report in this set of financial statements. So we have a copy of your guys' financial statements. It's 143 pages. We're literally maybe 6 or 7 of these. The rest is yours. The rest is your management team. You are one of the few departments that drafts your own financial statements. You don't essentially have us do it, which is an incredible feat, as you guys kind of, Mallory went through on that. So this is really impressive that we don't help you in any way get these financial statements in accordance with the standards. With any audit externally, we are striving to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance, meaning we can't say every single number, word, letter, and period in here is correct, but we can provide reasonable assurance that a third-party user can rely on these financial statements, i.e. your bondholders. So what's the status right now? It's been completed. Thanks, Mallory. It's been approved by the Office of the State Auditor, so the other ones that worked with us, they've approved it. It's public information on your website. It's public information on their website. We can't take it back unless there's a grave error, which we don't expect. Audit reports have been also submitted to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. That is the federal government's requirement for your single audit or your audit of your federal awards. The results were clean. So we have an unmodified opinion. We call that a clean opinion in auditing standards. We had an unmodified opinion over your financial statements themselves. That's your balance sheet, your income statement, your equity, your net position, et cetera. And also your major federal program compliance. Very clean. It's the highest form of an opinion that we can give as external auditors. Along with that, we had no material deficiencies in internal controls that were identified, meaning that all the policies and procedures that went into putting into these numbers was all sound. And although we do have a few matters to present in some subsequent slides, those are in accordance with the New Mexico State Audit Rule and the Uniform Guidance specifically. They don't have any bearing on the financial statements themselves in terms of the numbers. So, why 600 documents? Why 1,600 hours? What is it that we're doing? What are you paying us to do? Well, you're getting an information that we have, several balances that we look at on your balance sheet. So as a specific point in time, i.e. June 30th, 2021, you had roughly $1 billion in cash and cash equivalents. It takes time to audit. It takes time to look at. There's requirements that we have to kind of get through. Capital assets, your largest your balance sheet item is $5.4 billion. That's a net number. That's what your assets are sitting at, roads, bridges, cars, et cetera. Current and long-term debt, Secretary talked about your guys' bond and your bond activity. Takes a while to kind of hammer through those numbers, make sure everything's in agreement, make sure the state auditor agrees with all your balances. And then, of course, your net position. That's your equity. It increased over $500 million this year. So to wrap our head around that, try to figure out why that happened, what's going on, and obviously the Secretary alluded to, you have a lot of funding. Continuing on, we audit the major transactions that occur during the year. Obviously, appropriations from the state is a huge thing that we have to audit. We have to make sure numbers are tie. You guys agree to the state agrees to you. Capital additions of roughly $500 million. Takes time to audit that information. You had a bond refunding during the year. That requires a ton of disclosures. Your CPA helps you with that individual, and it nailed all the disclosures. Everything's perfect. And then a subsequent event, meaning something that happened after the date of the financial statements that is so important that it has to be included in the financial statements, was obviously a bond issuance that was subsequently granted. So with that, last two related to the financial statements themselves. COVID-19 reporting, you can't stand here and get an external presentation from your external auditor without mentioning the word, COVID-19 or pandemic. You guys have a lot of it, tons of funding. Mallory beat me to the punch on that. But you had 3 major programs. One of them was specifically related to COVID-19 funding, so that takes time to kind of get through. We're reading the standards as they come out, same as you guys, same as your management team, so we're trying to be in the middle. Guidance is being issued by the feds at any given moment. It's still being issued, so those are your major programs. And then, of course, all that comes to the real main requirement is that the methods used by management to create this document for all these transactions and related disclosures are appropriate. That's why we exist. So we're giving that clean opinion, and everything that goes into it is appropriate. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ramirez here. He's going to go over the uniform guidance and your internal controls over how these numbers get presented.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Chairman, members of the commission, so on this next slide, we wanted to illustrate just how big the department is. So as you can see, they've been growing significantly over the last several years. Their budget in 2021 was $1.8 billion. Kind of like Secretary Sandoval mentioned earlier, there's a lot of money and a lot of projects coming down the pipeline. And your management team, along with your oversight, is making plans to spend those dollars and get some infrastructure projects going down. On this next slide, so internal controls over financial reporting and compliance. As auditors, we report on any deficiencies in your internal control systems. There's 3 levels, if you will, to control deficiencies. The first is just a control deficiency in internal controls that exists when the design or the operation won't allow employees or management to identify a misstatement in the normal course of their duties. The next one up is a significant deficiency. This is just a deficiency that merits the attention of those charged with governance, which is you guys. And lastly, there's material weaknesses, which exists when there's a reasonable possibility that a misstatement will not be identified or corrected, or an instance of non-compliance won't be identified and corrected. We're happy to report there was no material weaknesses identified during the 2021 audit, and we'll come back to a couple of the other items in a future slide. This next slide, we did, as Jesse mentioned, audit the federal programs as well. We selected 3 federal programs to subject to the compliance audit. That was the Highway Planning and Construction Cluster, the Highway Safety Cluster, and some disaster grants that were received as a result of COVID-19. You can find more information on these and detailed expenditures on page 127 of the report, which was made available to you guys. Going back to those internal control deficiencies, in 2021, we did not find any control deficiencies for financial reporting. We did, however, identify one significant deficiency in controls over compliance. This was related to the Highway Safety Cluster federal program, and you can see the detailed finding on page 139 of the report as well. In addition to that, we did identify one instance of non-compliance with the state statutes as part of our testing under the New Mexico audit rule. And you can find that information on page 141 of the report as well. These last 3 slides, there's just some additional items that we're required to communicate to you in writing in accordance with the auditing standards. I won't go through all of them. They're included in your meeting packet, and you can read them at your convenience. Just a couple of the main ones are there were not any significant changes to the audit plan that we communicated to you back in May when we started the audit. Other than Romero and Weiner PC, the department did not have to consult with any other CPA firms with regard to any transactions or auditing matters. And we did not have any disagreements with management as far as the findings or anything like that. And with that, we'd like to thank you for your time, allowing us to present to you today. Chairman, Secretary Sandoval, and the rest of the commission.
Well, we appreciate it, and we appreciate the good news. And you guys didn't leave me out on a limb, see? But this is your last year, and as I had said before, you, with our group, with your group, the chemistry had developed because they now knew what you wanted and what was expected and vice versa. So I guess it's going out to bid again, right, Mallory?
Yeah, and they do have an opportunity to reapply for consideration. I'm assuming they will, so.
But you've been a great group and very professional, and we appreciate all your efforts, and we appreciate the good news today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And again, Mallory, thank you. Your whole group is wonderful. You provide wonderful leadership, and as I said earlier, we didn't do anything. We didn't. These people up here and all them, and that's what makes us look good, and we appreciate it.
Yes, and I think, like I said, they've been here with the department for over 5 years, so all that knowledge, I think it's dangerous to a certain degree for the department, but if one of them were to leave, it would be a big loss for the finance department.
Well, we thank them all. We appreciate them. Secretary?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to thank you guys for all your cooperation, and I think the communication has been so good over the last 3 years, and You guys have been very fair and forthcoming in everything that you've reviewed and found, so thank you for all of your work. It's made a difference for us in making sure that we're doing everything we're supposed to, so you guys have been a pleasure to work with, and pass that on to Stephen as well, so.
Yeah, and give Stephen our regards.
Yes.
I did want to mention one thing, Mr. Chairman. You know, last year we had 0 findings, this year we had 2 findings, and I think I just want to explain those 2 really quickly. The first one was, there's actually a requirement that we put into a federal database going back to 2011, and this has never come up in an audit before, going back 8 or 9, 10 years. So all it is we have to enter projects into a federal database on the safety side. So it's nothing to do with financial or anything. It's just a matter of making sure that those projects are in a federal database. The second one had to do with gas receipts, if I'm correct, Mallory. And so anytime somebody gets gas, everyone has a gas credit card. Most of the time they utilize that at district offices where all you can purchase is gas. But you can, if you're on travel, go to a Allsups or wherever and get gas. And what maybe a lot of people don't know is that gas card, you can get your car washed, you could actually purchase food, which you're not supposed to do. And so the finding was that when people would go to these Allsups or Chevrons or whatever, not everyone was keeping the receipt. Now, we don't think anything was going on. We don't think they were buying food or other things, but because we didn't have all of the receipts, there are definitely some, but because we didn't have all of the other receipts, that was the finding. And so we will clean that up. I don't know that it's anything significant or there's thousands or dollars being misspent. I think everyone uses that card appropriately, but we certainly want to be able to show that for the next audit that we're keeping track of those things. So the reason I mentioned those 2, Mr. Chairman, is because that's 2 fiscal years, and those are the only 2 findings. And managing $1 billion is hard enough on its own just with regular program. But when you add in over an additional $1 billion into the program over the last several years, you add in what we're going on now, 20 months of COVID, our financial staff has just done an excellent job in managing our finances. And I really appreciate Mallory and the work that her and her entire group do, because it's not easy, and especially not easy putting up with me, Mr. Chairman, because they keep me out of jail. I'll just say that, because I like to spend the money that we have, and Mallory makes sure that I'm doing it the right way. So thank you, Mallory, for you and all of the work that you do. Thank you guys again. But I'm very pleased with the last 2 years, and I think it shows not only the talent that we have in our finance area, but just that we are getting the money and we're using it the way we're supposed to, because all of these are taxpayer dollars. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, was I supposed to turn in my gas card when I left?
Mr. Chairman, your receipt may or may not been one of the ones they looked at. I don't know.
Okay. Mallory. Thank you. We'll go on to 9B, financial status update.
Okay. I'm going to present to you our financial status as of November 30th. Okay. Oh, no, I went one. Okay. So what you have here on column E, line 14 and 23, line 14 shows our budget, 1.6 billion as of November 30th. Column F, line 14, we've received $363.6 million in revenue. That's only 4 months of revenue at this point. We have spent, line 23, column F, $379.8 million. So as you can see, we spent a little bit more than what we received. However, we are still tracking on time, and we are tracking to receive the budget we have projected to spend. The next page, we have restricted funds, same concept, column F. For all restricted revenue, we received $38 million. We spent $23.1 million. So in this case, it's a little bit opposite. We've received more revenue than what we spent, so we're looking good here as well. The next page, this is our cash situation. You guys can't really see it, sorry. But can you move the page more to that side? Just to show the last column? Or is that it? Can you move the page like more this way?
We have it here, Mallory.
Let's do quick turn off. But can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the last column shows where our cash balance is as of November 30th, and the state road fund, we're about $360.2 million. This time last year, we only had about $252.6 million, which is about $107.6 million gain in cash. Our restricted revenues on November 30th was $84.5 million. This time last year, we were about $64 million, so that's about a gain of $20 million, for a total gain of about $128.1 million in cash. And the last page I have for you is what we consider our fund balance or our savings account, what we're projecting to end at the end of fiscal year '22. The last column, line number 7, we're projecting to have $24.8 million in state road fund, $48 million in restricted funds, for a total fund balance of $72.9 million. So whenever where we come and ask you guys for money, this is where the pot of money comes from. I assure you that the bars that are presented to you are already taken into consideration at the time that the presentations are made. So with that, I stand for any questions.
Looks like our budget's in great shape, huh?
It sure is. It's only going up.
Any questions from fellow commissioners? With that, thank you.
And
We
you know what they
appreciate
say,
it.
more money, more problems.
Hey.
You guys have to deal with it. Thank you.
Well, you better see about getting them an increase.
I agree.
We'll now go on to 9C, approval of budget adjustment request, bar number 12, Mesa del Sol, David. While we're waiting, I just want to give a shout out to my buddy Richard. I just saw him now. And I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can't see too far, but Richard's from Las Vegas. He's little guy. So welcome to the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, Secretary Sandoval, good morning. I'm here to present fiscal year 2022 bar number 12, P562-PDC. The background of this bar is we're establishing additional budget authority for our design program. The bar will increase the contract service CAT 300 by $2 million to fund the design phase of Mesa del Sol and I-25 interchange. Mesa del Sol Investments LLC has contributed $2 million for the design phase of Mesa del Sol Boulevard and I-25. Any unspent amount will be rolled over for acquisition of right-of-way and construction. For that, I will stand with for any questions.
Any questions? Mr. Secretary, what's your recommendation? Okay, hold on. Commissioner Chenoweth.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I just have a question. Is this additional to the funding that the developer contributed towards the study that's underway?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, this is part of the funding that they contributed. So it's taken out of that original contribution.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Mr. Secretary,
I recommend approval, Mr. Chairman.
you heard the Secretary's recommendation. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Chair, I'll move we approve budget adjustment.
I have a motion from Commissioner Taylor of approval of budget adjustment request bar number 12, Ms. Hazel. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
I have a second from Commissioner Chenoweth. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you, David.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Appreciate
Always
it.
good to see you.
Always.
Go Raiders, go Raiders.
I'm glad you're back.
Hey, talk to me next week.
Yes.
Going on to D, approval of bar number 13, Federal Transit, David Harris. David, it's always good to see you.
Good to see you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chair, Cabinet Secretary. I'm here for bar 13. Is required to increase the budget authority in federal grants and services for the Transit Bureau. We've been successful in getting some discretionary grants for transit projects throughout the state from Federal Transit Administration. This bar is in the amount of $2.15 million. These funds are 100% federally reimbursable with no cost to the state. The increased budget authority will be utilized as follows. $1.485 million for Los Alamos County for the purchase of electric buses and charging infrastructure, and $665,626 for Section 5310 money, which is for enhanced mobility for seniors and individuals with disabilities. This is for vans for senior centers and senior centers and the like, and as well as public transit services that provide paratransit, wheelchair service to members of their community, and that will be used to waive the local. This was COVID money, so it's 100% money. So we'll waive the match for those funds. Typically for capital purchases, it's a 20% match. For this money, we're going to spread it out around the state and waive the local match for vehicles. You may have heard that there's a vehicle shortage, so we have to take that into account as well. Due to the chip manufacturing and the supply chain issues, that's impacting the transit industry very greatly. So that's one of the major issues we have in the transit industry with the vehicles. But we're getting the money out there as quickly as we can, and hopefully the vehicles will follow.
Thank you. Is there any questions, comments from fellow commissioners? If not, what is your recommendation, Mr. Secretary?
I recommend approval, Mr. Chairman.
We have a recommendation from the Secretary for approval of bar number 13, Federal Transit. What is the pleasure of the Commission?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of bar 13.
I have a motion from Commissioner Taylor for approval. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
I have a second from Commissioner Sandoval. All in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr.
Dave.
Chair and Commissioners. Happy New Year.
Happy
Good
New
to
Year
see
to you too.
Good luck to your Raiders.
Hey, they're gonna need it. But, so now we're gonna move on to the New Mexico Finance Authority NMFA report. Mark, and don't go tell me he's leading in your fantasy football. Is he?
No, he actually lost to me by, what was it?
Oh.
0.2?
Well, at
By-
least
yeah.
at least it's
We
going.
don't want to talk about that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Of course, I still lost the whole thing anyway.
Okay.
But- Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary Sandoval. Going on to page 104. During the month of December, we received in a set-aside payment, which totaled $15.5 million. You also have interest payments going out, which totaled $22.7 million, for a net decrease in the portfolio of $7.2 million. We currently hold $69.8 million in debt service funds. On that next chart, you'll see you have a couple of project funds. Your 2021A holds $302.4 million. 2014A project funds total $6.7 million. At the bottom of the page, the department has a $50 million line of credit for the BNSF escrow. You did pay a commitment fee this month in the amount of $24,277. Going on to the next page. As I mentioned, there was an interest payment on your bonds of $22.7 million. This will show you that breakdown of all the bond series. On the next page, this will show you what's coming up on your June 15th bond payment. You'll have a principal payment of $121.2 million, interest payment of $24.5 million, for a total on June 15th of $145.7 million. If you add in the $22.7 million paid in December, your fiscal year debt service will come to $168.4 million. And on the very right-hand side, you'll see you currently have outstanding $998.2 million. And as the Secretary mentioned, your 2012 are coming up on callable. The remaining amount after the 103 principal payment on June 15th, that $50 million, will be refunded. With that, it's time for any questions.
You're very happy with the way everything's looking?
It's a very great portfolio. It's very short, sweet.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from fellow commissioners? No? Well, with that, Mark, we really appreciate it and thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go on now to number 10, annual determination of notice provisions for open and closed State Transportation Commission meetings. Oh, Mr. Baca.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary Sandoval.
It's that time of year again when we ask the commission to reaffirm its notice provisions or requirements for open and closed commission meetings under the Open Meetings Act. And so specifically, under section 10-15-1 of the Act, public bodies, including the State Transportation Commission, are required to determine annually in a public meeting what is reasonable notice for their open and closed meetings. And the commission has made that determination in prior years under Commission Policy 1. So Commission Policy 1 at section E provides that reasonable notice for open meetings and closed meetings of the commission are as follows. So for regular meetings, notice of the date, time, place, and proposed agenda availability shall be given 10 days in advance of the meeting date. For special meetings, that notice requirement is 3 days in advance of the meeting date. Emergency meetings, notice must be given as far in advance as practicable before the meeting date and time. And then notice of closed meetings is the same for either regular meetings or special meetings. In addition to the notice requirement, the commission policy and the Open Meetings Act also have a publication requirement. And so for regular meetings, we publish notice in at least one newspaper of statewide general circulation. And if publishing deadlines permit after approval of the agenda, in at least one newspaper of general circulation in the geographical location of the meeting. The notice is also mailed to broadcast stations licensed by the FCC and newspapers of general circulation who have made a written request for the notice. Notice of special meetings must be placed in at least one newspaper of statewide general circulation, and in addition to that, in at least one newspaper of general circulation within the meeting's geographical location. Also, telephonic notice must be given to broadcast stations and newspapers of general circulation who have made a written request for the notice. Each notice must include that the commission will make reasonable accommodation for disabled individuals wishing to attend open meetings in accordance with the with the Americans with Disabilities Act. In addition to these requirements, I would note that we also provide notice of commission meetings on our external website, through press releases, and on social media, including Facebook. And then finally, meeting agendas are posted on the department's external website at least 72 hours prior to the scheduled meeting in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. And so what we would request today is approval of the commission to reaffirm the notice requirements that are already set forth in Commission Policy 1. And again, that's something we do on an annual basis and are required to do so by the Open Meetings Act. With that, I stand for any questions.
I have a quick question. If for some reason a commissioner cannot attend a meeting, can they attend via Zoom and still vote and everything else?
They can, Mr. Chairman, and specifically, we actually do have a rule that was required to be adopted that allows for commissioners to participate by telephone, long as that's not something that's done on a routine basis. There needs to be some sort of hardship in order for the rule to apply. But I believe in these times that Zoom technology would suffice or substitute for telephone technology.
Can you bring that one before us on the next meeting?
I'm sorry?
Do we have to vote on that one separately to adopt?
Well, if we want to, that's by rule. So if we want to amend that to specifically include Zoom or Microsoft Teams or other virtual technology, we probably have to go through the rulemaking process.
Okay.
And we can certainly do so if the chairman wishes.
Maybe for the next meeting.
We can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there
any other questions?
Any questions? Well, with that, Ken, thank you, and thank you for all the work you do for us.
You're very welcome, Mr. Chairman. We do need action on this.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Okay.
So what is the recommendation, Mr. Secretary?
I recommend you adopt, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a motion to approve the annual determination of notice provisions for open and closed status transportation commission meetings as presented by Kembaka Legal Counsel? Do I have a motion?
Thank you, Chairman. I will make that motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Chenoweth. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And just because of this, give us a roll call, just to make sure that.
Commissioner Sandoval?
Here.
Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yes.
Chairman Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner.
With that, do we have someone here for the approval of the proposed dedication of the Carlos Cisneros? Okay, so if you can come up. Looks like that here.
Senator Bobby Gonzalez wanted to do it, so do you want to take a break?
He hasn't gotten here yet.
Morning,
You know what I'm gonna do? I think we're still waiting for a couple more people. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just get a 5-minute break, if that's all
Okay.
right with everyone. Yeah, is that all right?
certainly.
Okay.
Okay, Senator Gonzalez wanted to be here, I think, so.
So we will reconvene at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you for being patient with us. supposedly he's almost here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to the last item on the agenda, and that'll give him time to get here.
Okay, so we'll, Mr. Chair, we'll stand down for a minute or two then.
Yes, sir, I
Okay.
appreciate it, but he really wanted to be here, and I want to honor his request. So
Okay,
if it's all right with the family, then we'll go ahead and do that. Thank you.
be here.
So with that, I'm gonna go on to letter D, proposed revision to NMAC 18.11.3 Air Service Marketing Assistance Program.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Secretary Sandoval and members of the commission, appreciate you letting me speak before you. This is a quick one. There is a rule regarding marketing for airports. This has to do with just the airports around the state. And there has been a statute since 1999 which allows the marketing funds to be allocated amongst the air service airports, of which there are 6 around the state of New Mexico. And there's going to be an expansion of the airports because of the new Air Services Enhancement Act. And what this proposal does to change the old rule that we had, is to allow us to spend money collectively for all of the airports rather than one at a time, in connection with one of the other departments, which is the Department of Tourism, so that we can get more bang for the buck. So the advertising dollars for these airports, which are the cities and counties that own the airports, is going to go a lot further by teaming up with the Department of Tourism. It also changes the maximum per airport from 200,000 to a higher number, whatever we have available, and lets the aviation division decide based on need what amounts would be actually spent for marketing on each one of these 6 airports that exist, plus whichever ones come into play that are new, and we don't know how many of those are. We only have one application so far, but we expect several more to come in to expand the air services, which means people can buy tickets at remote locations in New Mexico and fly out of the state or within the state. It also changes the 50% requirement. There's a 50% requirement under the current rule that the cities or counties would have to match the state aviation division, and this would eliminate the 50% requirement, and we would also determine based on need what that requirement would have to be. So it gives us a lot more flexibility, especially now that we have more airports coming online, and we'd like to be able to work better and get more bang for our buck. That really is the essence of the change that we're requesting. And with that, I stand for any questions.
And you're requesting approval of that item?
Approval of that change to allow us more flexibility and to remove the 50% matching requirement, yes.
Is there any questions from my fellow commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, just a clarification. I think, Pedro, you have to go through the rulemaking process, right? To make these changes?
That's
Yes.
correct. I'm sorry.
So I think what he's requesting is permission to go through the rulemaking, and the items that he discussed is what the plan is to change the rule. Once it's gone through the process, he'll come back and tell you exactly what those numbers are, and then you would vote on approval of the rule. But right now, you would be voting on allowing us to start the process to change the rule. Correct, Pedro?
Yes, I think that's correct. And we have Ken who just did one, and I think that's the correct procedure, so, yes.
Any other comments? Mr. Secretary, what is your recommendation?
I recommend approval to move forward with the rulemaking.
We have a recommendation, and what is the pleasure of my fellow commissioners?
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
I have a motion from Commissioner Taylor to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Commissioner Chenoweth. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
We're gonna have to just go. Okay, hopefully he'll walk in and he can speak. So we're gonna call up the family of Carlos.
Listo? Ready?
Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Secretary, Commissioners. I'm Paul Brasher. I'm the District 5 engineer for the department. What What we are here to present to you is the proposed dedication of the entire length of New Mexico 522 from its junction with US 64 in Taos County north to the New Mexico-Colorado state line as the Senator Carlos R. Cisneros Memorial Highway, and adoption of the related State Transportation Commission Resolution number 2022-01 today. I have joining us today Ms. Andrea Cisneros, Carlos Cisneros' daughter, there she is, his daughter Annalisa Vigil, and her son David Vigil, Carlos Cisneros' grandson. And it's fitting we do this today because on this, the 110th anniversary of statehood, in his speech after his inauguration, our first governor, William McDonald, paid tribute to federal highways for the federal aid program and paid tribute to elected officials for their dedication to better roads in New Mexico. And it's so it's timely that it's the timing is right. It's fitting that we do this today. So Carlos R. Cisneros was a native of the state of New Mexico, born in Cuesta on May 13, 1948. Carlos R. Cisneros was first appointed to the New Mexico Senate in July 1985. He was thereafter elected to the New Mexico Senate in November 1988 and continuously served the people of the Senate District 6 until he passed away on September 17, 2019, as a true statesman for the people of New Mexico. During the 2020 regular session, the New Mexico legislature passed Senate Memorial 45, requesting the State Transportation Commission dedicate the entire length of New Mexico 522 from its junction with US 64 to the in Taos County to the New Mexico-Colorado state line. This is a distance of 41.1 miles, by the way, and this would be dedicated as the Senator Carlos R. Cisneros Memorial Highway. The proposed dedication designates the entire length of New Mexico 522 from its junction with 64 in Taos County north to the New Mexico-Colorado state line as the Senator Carlos R. Cisneros Memorial Highway in recognition of Senator Cisneros' service to the people of Los Alamos, Rio Arriba, Santa Fe, Taos, and Mora counties and the state of New Mexico. So the action proposed today or before you is commission approval and adoption of State Transportation Commission Resolution number 2022-01, dedicating the entire length of New Mexico 522 from its junction with US 64 north to the New Mexico-Colorado state line, all in Taos County, as the Senator Carlos R. Cisneros Memorial Highway. What you have before you to consider is the resolution itself, and I'm going to ask Carlos Cisneros' daughter, Andrea, to read this into the record for you, if you would, please. Oh, there she is. Again, sorry.
That's all right.
Welcome.
Thank you. Dedicating the entire length of NM 522 from its junction with US 64 in Taos County north to New Mexico-Colorado state line as the Senator Carlos R. Cisneros Memorial Highway. Whereas Carlos R. Cisneros was born on May 13, 1948 in Cuesta, New Mexico, and whereas after graduating from Cuesta High School in 1968, Carlos R. Cisneros worked as a miner for the Molycorp mine near Cuesta, New Mexico. He also attended New Mexico Highlands University and the University of Montana in Missoula. He went on to hold many positions at the mine and eventually served as Human Resources Manager and Development Advisor. And whereas for 20 years, Carlos R. Cisneros served as President of the Mine Employees Union, Local 4-659 of the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers. And whereas from 1984 to 1985, Carlos R. Cisneros served on the Taos Board of County Commissioners. He also served as board trustee of the Kit Carson Electric Cooperative and a board member of Taos County Community Mental Health Services. And whereas Carlos R. Cisneros was first appointed to the New Mexico Senate in July 1985,
He was thereafter elected to the New Mexico Senate in 1988 and continuously served the people of Senate District 6 for 34 years until he passed away on September 17th, 2009. And whereas during Senator Cisneros' long and distinguished tenure in the New Mexico legislature, he served as vice chair of the Senate Finance Committee, chair of the Conservation Committee, chair of the Education Committee, chair of the Interim Revenue Stabilization and Tax Policy Committee, chair of the Water and Natural Resources Committee, and a member of numerous other standing and interim committees. And whereas Senator Cisneros dedicated advocacy, expertise in capital outlay and budget matters, and extensive knowledge of state government earned him the respect of his colleagues in both the House and the Senate on both sides of the aisle. And whereas during the 2020 regular section of the New Mexico legislature, the Senate passed Senate Memorial 45 requesting the State Transportation Commission dedicate the entire length of NM 522 from its junction with US 64 in Taos County to the New Mexico-Colorado state line. As a leader in the Senate who served with dedication, as the Senator Carlos R. Memorial Highway, and Senator Cisneros will long be remembered by the citizens of Los Alamos, Rio Arriba, Santa Fe, Taos, Moore counties, and the state of New Mexico for his decades of public service and as a leader in the Senate who served with dedication and distinction. Whereas the New Mexico State Transportation Commission wishes to create a permanent reminder in honor of Senator Cisneros and memorialize the contributions he made while serving the people of Los Alamos, Rio Arriba, Santa Fe, Taos, and Mora counties, and the state of New Mexico. And now, therefore, it is resolved that the New Mexico State Transportation Commission recognizes and honors Senator Cisneros for his outstanding service to the people of Los Alamos, Rio Arriba, Santa Fe, Taos, and Mora counties, and the state of New Mexico as a state and local leader. And be it further resolved that the entire length of NM 522 from its junction with US 64 in Taos County north to the New Mexico-Colorado state line shall hereafter be known as the Senator Carlos R. Cisneros Memorial Highway. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to Senator Cisneros' family. Thank you.
And
Thank you, Annalisa. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
on behalf of the commission, first of all, we would like to commend and thank Senator Cisneros for all his contributions to the state of New Mexico, and he served his constituents in the state of New Mexico as well as anyone could. He was always concerned about the people, and he always wanted to do the right things to get things done. So we appreciate his efforts. And is there anyone else to speak?
Mr. Chairman, just a comment. I just wanted to wish you my condolences for a couple of years ago, and congratulations today for getting a highway named after him. And I started working at the session back in 2000, and just such a wonderful man, I have to say, just a truly wonderful man. And he always cared about not only his constituents, I know he grew up there and really cared deeply about the people there in Cuesta, but he also cared about infrastructure and always treated DOT very nicely and made us make sure we were whole at the end of every session in his role at Senate Finance. So just a super nice man, and I know I miss him, I know you miss him, and just congratulations for today.
Thank you.
Any other comments from fellow commissioners?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I had the pleasure of serving with Carlos in the legislature for a number of years. He was a true statesman, a wonderful guy, really delightful to work with. And he did a lot of good for the state of New Mexico. He was a guy who was deliberative and really worked for the betterment of the people. And since he's only a few days different from my birthday, it brings some reality, of course, to my life. But anyway, I just want to let you know what a great guy he was and the fact that he really did make a contribution to the people of the state of New Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I guess, no, okay, so with that, do I have a motion to dedicate the entire length of New Mexico 522 from its junction with US 64 in Taos County north to the New Mexico-Colorado state line as the Senator Carlos R. Cisneros Memorial Highway?
I so move.
I have a motion from Commissioner Taylor. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second from Commissioner Sandoval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Just do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Sandoval? Yes. Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yes.
Chairman Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
So it is now officially the Carlos R. Cisneros Memorial Highway.
Thank you.
You said it's going to be a beautiful highway.
Make sure you keep it that way.
Of course, they all are. Thank you, Commissioner.
If you can just hold a second and then we'll do some pictures. Brian?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary, thank you. First, I want to complain that we're having our Best of New Mexico awards. We're getting those ready, and too many people have submitted. So that means I got to go a lot of places I don't want to go.
I have a solution.
Huh?
I have a solution.
What?
Just name me the winner.
Oh, okay.
Forget the work.
So really, no, we got a lot of good applications and looking forward to checking them out. So that's the good news. The one topic that we would like to discuss real quick is the budget that is going to be fantastic. But our concern is, and I understand that the money, some of it's federal, we've got to spend it, but we have a core group of contractors here in New Mexico that if some of the jobs get too big, they can't bid them. And that brings in out-of-state contractors. And I know some of it's federal money, we've got to do it. But if we can avoid that, then the money stays here. Because when an out-of-state contractor gets a job, yes, he rents some hotel rooms to stay, but the big money goes out of state. If a local contractor gets it, he's renting rooms, he's buying equipment here, where the other out-of-staters a lot of times buy equipment out of their home state. So if we can do something to try to keep those down, and I know that it's a difficult thing, there's some economics in size, but there's also some economics in keeping money in New Mexico. And I think Dick wants to talk to it.
Thank you,
James.
Brian. Chairman, Commission, thank you for having us here today. I know you can't tell from there, but I'm wearing my Raiders tie today, so I did that just for you. Commissioners, I just wanted...
You can talk as long as you want.
Thank you. I'll spare that. I wanted to let you know two things. First of all, I appreciate the way Brian put that. I think it's a big concern of ours that the larger the project, the harder it is for the local contractors to do the work. But my emphasis now is going to be about what has been happening for the last 2 years. And I commend the community, the entire community of the department for the communication that they've done to make us essential and to let us do the work that we've been doing. So we've had a real good 2 years, and I want everybody to know that, because all we hear is the doom and the gloom. But our contractors are working. We're having the same problems with getting employees, things like that. But I appreciate that. Mr. Sandoval, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with our community this afternoon as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a quick comment, and I know the discussion's been going around about contractors and this and that, but I mean, there's also a concern that there's not going to be enough contractors, even here in New Mexico, to fulfill the amount of money that we have to spend on roads. So that might not even be a...
Well, and along that line is contract, all the other states are getting money too, and
That's
they're
okay.
having trouble.
Mhm.
I mean, some of them are not gonna come here, but some of them will probably.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're having trouble getting good employees all around. I
So I
mean, there's
think-
a shortage.
So I think each state's gonna have their hands full with
But
keeping
keep
every-
the money.
Yeah.
We're happy to have that.
Keep the money.
Okay.
But, and again, thanks to the communications department, the social media postings that you guys do are just so helpful to everybody in the state. And so,
Thank you.
Your
thanks,
new
thank you for that.
website is so
Yes,
great.
easy to
I
work
mean,
with.
It is so easy to find things, so.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you. I appreciate it. Did you get in?
Is Senator Gonzalez here or no? No, not yet, okay. All right, I
Okay,
think that's it.
So with
Mr.
that, I want to move to adjournment. Then we're going to go ahead and take pictures. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to thank you for always being supportive. I also, on behalf of the commission, want to wish you a very happy new year. Keep you and your families safe. Do whatever it takes to keep them safe, just as we do whatever it takes to serve the people of New Mexico. So with that, I'm looking forward to a great 2022. And on behalf of the commission, we appreciate all of you and we thank all of you. So with that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn? This is everybody's favorite part of the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn at approximately 11:28:29 from Commissioner Sandoval. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
I have a second for Commissioner Chenoweth. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Happy New Year.
3-1.